Hello, folks. It is I, Noob Mister. We are here once again with the Game Time podcast, where we talk about life gaming and all that stuff in between. And I think I might have made my microphone just a tad too loud. I will get the hang of this one day, but stuff. Anyway, I am once again being...
Thy day of perfection will soon be there, newbie, but until then you must proceed onwards as you are.
Are you trying to do an impression of the Inverted Shadow? That sounded so much like the Inverted Shadow.
I didn't know he talked that way.
He kind of has that sort of articulation, shall we say.
I was more or less just thinking Dark Souls whenever I was trying to say anything, try to do it in the old English way.
But anyway, I am once again being joined by Mike Set, who will now continue his ranting, rambling rant. Go right ahead.
Not a rant. Yeah, I'm too used to hearing him speak normally, not when he's narrating. I've only heard him once or twice do that type of thing, like with the old Blue Spy series. That's about it. So, what is on the discussion list for today?
Well, the discussion list for today is we must first let us talk about life. So what have you been doing in the realms of life?
Recovering from a headache. It's finally subsiding. It still hurts, I'm still sensitive to noise, and yet I'm raising my voice anyway! And, I've got
loud noises! Sorry?
Loud noises!
Who are these people?
I don't know what we're yelling about!
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble controlling the volume of my voice! And I probably perforated everybody's eardrums doing that, so if you were listening with headphones, how's it like being deaf? Well, you wouldn't know because you can't hear me.
Is deaf. Let's go to engineer. Wait, no, it was when they visited the engineer's house. Let's go trick-or-treating is what they
He's talking about it. He's talking about a TF2 Smexual. Somebody did, so if you don't know what he's talking about...
Let me try that one more time. Now that everyone is deaf, let's go trick-or-treating.
Okay. So, you have a headache, and it's gone now.
Well, it's still partially there, still a little bit sensitive to noise, but I'm tolerating it now, and the medicine will do its job well before Monday, but I missed work today. I probably
over a headache?
Yes, I probably still could have gone, but I didn't want to be posted next to those 3 huge-ass fans again in the factory, which caused the headache in the first place. I should have worn those earmuffs sooner.
I'm guessing this is obviously to try and combat the heat and things.
Yes, I don't get along well with constant loud noises.
Neither do I. I spend a lot of my time... The thing with me and noises is that I must have some sort of selective hearing or something, because I always keep focusing on one particular noise. And if somebody's trying to talk to me...
Yeah, when I'm in noisy places, such as the factory, I can't understand what anyone is saying half the time.
I do that. I focus on the loudest noise possible and not on what someone's trying to say to me, so I'm just like, I'm sorry, what did you just say? I didn't hear any of that. So...
Yeah, and take this for example. I can't really make out half of what people say over the police scanner half the time, but my dad can, and he's deaf. What kind of hearing do you develop to be able to understand that crap?
I don't really think that... Are you sure your dad's deaf, or is it just that he understands the way that people's...
Deaf. He usually wears hearing aids, but sometimes doesn't because he hates those things, and I understand why. They cause you to hear things you normally wouldn't with your normal ears, since they're just basically loudspeaker things.
Yeah.
And my mom's getting a bit deaf too, but nowhere near as much as Dad.
So yeah, deafness and headaches. I'm really not sure what else to talk about, because I haven't really done much else since last week. Well, okay, admittedly, I did go for sort of almost an unplanned excursion on Sunday. I just decided I was going to go out and have a walk, you know, sort of try and get some fresh air. And they've opened up like sort of like a small history museum down in sort of near in the town near the seafront. Because I live on a coastal town, folks. Yes, that is right. I am one of those seaside folks. But yeah, they'd opened up like a small, like little history museum based on sort of things that are happening around the town. And originally I was just like, oh, you know, I'll probably it's only like the size of like a small shop, so it's not huge. And I thought, oh, you know, I'll go in there for a few minutes, look at a few bits of what they've got in there, and maybe read a bit of, you know, history and stuff. I was in there for an hour and a half. So, yeah, I just completely lost track of time.
Must have been a nice visit.
Yeah, it was. In fact, it was free entry, so I might go back again because there were several bits that I didn't stop to read because I sort of got about halfway around and I was starting getting to that point where I was just like, I've had enough reading. I don't want to read anymore. So I skipped a few bits and ended up sitting there for like, I think it was like 15 minutes or something, watching a almost kind of like a travel documentary on my town. Because it was sort of a big seaside resort back in the 80s when, you know, the holidaying on to somewhere else in the country and going to like a seaside resort was the British thing to do. But, you know, probably not so much anymore, considering that, you know, airplane tickets are a lot cheaper, he says, and they're usually about £1,000 each.
And speaking of fresh air, a couple of days ago wasn't the best time to do that, because there was almost nothing but hazy smoke in the air.
Ooh, nasty.
Bushfires and controlled fires. In fact, one of the areas I walked around was blackened and whatnot because it was, you know, had a bit of a controlled bush fire.
Yes. You see, Donald Trump, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Or something. Wait, oh, don't you remember when I think it was the California fires, like a couple of months ago, Donald Trump blamed it on the management of you know, the bush areas or brush or whatever, and he's just like, oh, you know, all these other countries, you know, they kind of do all that kind of stuff, and I don't know why I kind of made Donald Trump sound like an American yokel, but you know, they kind of do all that stuff. I don't know. It was ages ago, and I probably wasn't paying that much attention, but he was basically trying to compare America to other countries, and a lot of other countries were going, no, that's not really kind of how we do it. But anyway, we keep politics out of this show. I am not making this into a political thing. Sharpwing does that anyway.
Though I will say, I like how a lot of short jabs at when it comes to America is always where every gender and race are equal, but not really.
Yeah, everybody is equal, but you're not.
It's whenever something like that comes about, with say even just as something as simple as servers and whatnot, where there are rules and whatnot, but some things just either go against it or some people struggle to fight against it.
In other words, no swearing on my Christian server. You know, that old joke.
Oh, that reminds me. When I was playing with a friend of mine in Warframe, I believe he went by the name Captain Juice. He's a friend of mine I met in VR chat. I like how he constantly jabs at either himself or... plus, since we were all... with the exception of one person from over in New Zealand, everyone else was from the land down under, where we are. And he kept saying, you know, guys, I don't think we're Aussie enough. We're not swearing enough.
I really wouldn't have associated Australians with swearing too much. I would have thought that would have been something more similar to just, I don't know, maybe it's just English-speaking nations that are just, like, we swear constantly.
Speaking of which, I forget what country this was, but you've seen it's a fucking emu, man!
No, I don't think I have seen that one.
I love it because they're just constantly swearing and using passive insults back and forth, like "you're fucked up, mate." They're all just smiling and laughing, so it's all casual swearing.
Casual swearing. What's
Yeah.
what's serious swearing like? Is that when you start using the really really meaty stuff?
Well, it depends. It just depends on how each other takes it and uses it. If it's casual swearing, then they're just constantly using it or going it back and forth, and their reactions are usually just a smile or nothing at all.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Really? You're quoting that?
Yes, I am. Sorry, but it's when people say things like that. There's usually something in my mind where it's just like, I know I've heard that in a quote. So it's a bit like when somebody says maybe. My first reaction is maybe. So when somebody says nothing at all, it's just like nothing at all. Nothing at all. Stupid damn sexy Flanders.
Oh my god.
Speaking of The Simpsons, good lord, what is happening in there?
Aurora Borealis, and then there's Aurora Borealis and Alice.
Yeah, MLP characters for anybody that still watches the show, because
I know I talked about this last podcast, but seriously, the times when the internet is starving on memes, they dig up fossils to satiate its hunger. Aurora Borealis comes out of nowhere with steam clams, and dear gods, coincidentally, that episode of MLP aired, only to just make it explode even further.
Yeah.
Or, fortunately, cause most people to stop referencing it, because now they feel like they're just referencing MLP, or just enticing or encouraging fellow MLP brony, whatever, to just pitch in and say, "Hey, Aurora Borealis," and they say, "No, fuck you! Bronies ruin everything!"
That's just it. Blame everything on the bronies, despite the fact that it's mostly because of your own insecurities.
Well, fuck, if it destroys a fossil meme that's been resurrected from the dead, I'm all for it.
Was it even a fossil meme? It was just something that was just old that people dug up and, were just like,
That's why I call it a fossil!
It is a yes. This meme dates back to the Cretaceous period, back when lolcat was still a thing. You can tell by the indents that this meme was used quite a lot. In fact, it was used so much it's practically non-existent at this point.
Speaking of old memes, have you even seen the whole Rickroll thing anymore? Because I haven't. I've only just heard it play on the radio at work.
Admittedly not. The one I keep seeing is people linking to that whole bloody "you've been gnomed" thing. Or gnomed.
I've only just been noticing it. Yeah, I've only just been noticing it.
That is literally trash level meme. Because there's nothing particularly clever about it.
Well, it will die soon because they have to try. As I've heard someone say, if you repeat the meme the same way but don't do anything creative here or there, it's going to die.
That was why the Aurora Borealis steamed hams thing went on for so long, because people were actually being creative with it. Yep. Again, that was the reason why the "We Are Number One" thing lasted for so long, because so many people were able to do stuff with it.
Yeah, but that's a song. Songs can be catchy. Dare I say, we all lift together. My friend, hang on.
Oh god, I got it stuck in my head now. Why is it that happens? Every time someone so much as mentions that song, my mind immediately goes to the intro of that song, and I'm just like,
Yeah, you hear the first couple of tunes, you instantly know what it is, and your brain tries to finish it.
Yeah, it's the standard human response. Your brain can't leave things unfinished.
Which is why I usually hate songs that have a repeating thing that repeat more than twice in a row. Dare I say, I'm up all night to get lucky. How many times was that repeated? I believe it was
oh god, now I'm thinking of the song, god damn it!
Yes. That plays on the radio at my workplace too. And my brain, I was like, seriously, okay, if I'm listening to this, how many times does it repeat? 6 times?! I
It
believe it
repeats
was
that
6
chorus
times.
6 times. I've never bothered to count. I just hear the chorus, and that's just all I've got going around in my head all day.
It was either 4 times or 6 times, or maybe even 5 times, but that's not even. Well, anyway.
Well, now speaking of songs, I've now got another song stuck in my head, which is "Hooked on a Feeling."
Not sure I've heard of that one.
I will show you that one after the podcast. You'll probably hear it and go, "Oh, that one."
Yeah, probably.
Because Jacksepticeye started singing that at the beginning of one of his videos that he did recently. I was just like, I have to pause this video and go and listen to the song now, because one, I just hadn't heard it in a while, and second, it was just, standard human response. Gotta finish the song.
Also, remember, I'm more attracted to songs that are instrumental, because the title alone is the only lyrics to give you the basis idea. Having your imagination really helps.
Are you attracted to songs that have really nice curves as well? Nice flowing hair. Big boobies. No, that's just me. But yes. Anything else you want to talk about? Memes?
I was trying to think of this boob joke from something I remember hearing about. Oh yeah. I think I remember. No. Don't brain fart. Don't brain fart on me. What was it? It was
He brain farted.
Yes, I brain farted. No, I can't remember it. It was a boob joke, or at least it was an implied boob joke, but went on to something else. Like you would say, big, huge.
Are you talking about the Austin Powers films where they were just like,
No, wait, no. Now I remember. It was from Crash Bandicoot, and more, the remastered one. What was the title?
Warped?
I think it the line.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe I should retire to a nice big beach with a nice big
with a
drink.
nice big drink
And a woman with nice big bags of ice for my head.
And even his hand gestures just into the idea.
Yeah,
that was the joke I was thinking.
And that was also done. And the thing was, I don't know whether he does it in the.
No, he doesn't.
In the remastered version, but in the original, he actually gestures his Cortex gestures his hands to suggest, giant boobs, but then goes to grab his head instead.
No, you got that backwards. One, I don't think he says it at all, if I remember correctly. It was just a defeat thing, and but in the remastered trilogy, that whole line was there.
No, I'm pretty sure that was in the original as well. I mean, I finished the original and done it 100%. Hell, I did it something like 103% because I couldn't find all the extra gems.
All right, fuck it, you're on. Well, after the podcast, we're looking at the video.
Okay, then. But yes, on that note, let's go and talk about gaming stuff now. So, what have you been doing in terms of gaming lately, Mikey boy?
I've been just having more fun with Warframe's new system with the whole achievements. I really like them, and I'm glad that the Piss Anything events are gone.
The what anything event?
Piss all, or piss in time, piss anything. Basically the jack shit type of thing.
Oh, was that the one? Was that the one where they were doing the last couple of weekends, where it was just go and kill X number of these? No.
This is what I'm happy is here, because now it's just basically everyone focused on this and that, or achievements for this and that, and it varies. But they're replacing the old alert system where there was basically a survive and it just gave you X amount of credits, or just a mediocre thing, or it gave you 10 mediocre tracers.
Oh, those kinds of I haven't really been doing alerts all that much lately. I've mostly been trying
to... Barely anyone did. They only just did it because they were thinking, what am I in the mood to play for? I like to do some survival. Any survival alerts? It's a crappy reward, but alert is alert. I want to play with some random pubs, so I'll just go there. Yay, let's have some fun. We got more resources and credits than the alert gave us.
Mm-hmm. That's always the case, though. In fact, survival missions in Warframe are just the one thing you use to just farm resources, because it's just the easiest thing to do. You're in there for about 20-25 minutes, depending on the skill level of your group, and that you know you can walk out with like several thousand of a particular resource. I used to struggle to find polymer bundles because I needed them for something I was crafting. I was just like, I am just running out of polymer bundles constantly. And now I went and ran like a couple of survival missions, and that's it. I had more than enough for what I needed, and now I think I'm sitting on nearly like 30k of them because I have mostly because I haven't used them in a while, and because you know Orb Valis and all that they drop them there as well. So
yeah, it's like the again, it's like the Oxiums. You seriously need it when you start out, but once you've got it, you've always got two.
Oh yeah, I've got so much Oxium now. And you were right, there was just one point I was just like, oh, I need so much more Oxium, where do you get it? And I was trying to track everything down, and now I'm just sitting there looking at it going, why did I ever need that much again? Because I'm just sitting on a stockpile of it, and it's just not doing anything.
The biggest thing was to craft your carrier.
Yeah, probably.
And once again, have you got that augment mod yet for the carrier, where it automatically destroys supply crates or anything nearby in a pulse?
No, I haven't gotten that one yet. Because I'm mostly just running around with the pet companions. You know, the actual living, breathing ones.
But next time you and I go doing things in Warframe, let me get you some standing for that guy, because trust me, you will want it. And what's even better, originally all it did was basically allow it to shoot the crates, but it was basically, if you stuck next to 3 crates, it would be targeting, bang. Okay. Oh, another one, bang. Oh, this one, bang. You know, it takes forever, but now it's just whenever you're near one, there's just this big pulse that destroys all the crates, and it's silent. So if you're doing stealth missions...
Silent but violent, especially against crates.
The only thing it doesn't open is the lockers. And when I was going with these guys that I mentioned about, they had this habit of always looting lockers. And now I'm reminded why. I rarely ever bother to open lockers, but I've gotten back into the habit again because half of the time we leave with several I-10 stars. They drop a lot from lockers.
Yeah, they sometimes drop from containers as well, but they tend to drop more commonly from lockers, from what I've found.
Yeah,
no, it's just open up a locker and it's just like, oh, a star, thank you very much.
Yeah, I remember reading when they were first introduced that they were intended. It even explicitly said that it would be more common in lockers. I like that.
Most interesting. But yes, other gaming stuff that I have been doing. I was playing Yakuza 0 last night. Yakuza 0? Heard of it?
No, I don't think so. Can you type it down? I'll search it.
You want to do the searchings? Yakuza
also,
0.
Someday I will convince you to try Darkwood.
I can't remember what that was. That the top-down one where your vision was obscure? Oh, that one. Yeah.
Oh, this one. Okay, now I remember.
Yeah, I just
remember the Yakuza part.
Yeah, I was able to play that last night because of the whole, Chrono.gg thing that I do. Chrono.gg/Noob
Hey, I have to say this. This is the first time I've seen a title with the number 0. Not the spelling, but the number.
That's a good point. Very few games actually... Well, wait, did Resident Evil 0 do that?
Let me have a look.
Or maybe it did a combination of the two, where it was spelt 0, but the O was an actual 0.
Alright, hold on. Resident Evil 0.
He has to look this up now.
Oh yeah, they did.
I thought they had.
Yeah, hang on, I'll send an image to you. They even put a... I can't tell if that's just a line blood splatter, or just a scribble, or if that's a sword.
Yeah, I had a sneaking feeling that they'd done it both ways, but I didn't realize they'd actually done it with both.
Oh yeah, they did. I just noticed that they even spelt the word they even spelt 0 down there.
Yeah, because most games don't tend to go with the spelling of the word zero as opposed to the numerical value
the
of
positioning and
zero.
style does work.
Yes, now has made me curious if there are any other games that have... I mean, those are the only two that I can think of, but mostly because, one, I was playing last night, and because, well, Resident Evil 2 Remake came out recently, so that's still on everybody's minds. But I can't think of... What?
I just realized why the train looks so familiar.
Why?
You remember that old animation I made a long time ago when I was train traveling?
Oh,
that's where I got the prop from.
That was the prop?
Yeah, hold on. I'll give you this image, and I'm going to quickly go to my DeviantArt and link it. Kind of opened some old wounds, but still, I'm happy with the animation.
He was happy with how it came out, despite what it was originally being made for.
Yeah. But yeah, does it look familiar?
Yeah. I know which one you were talking about, because I sat there and watched you trying to animate it, because you were doing that whole looping thing with everything outside the window.
Yeah, that was a challenge, but dear God, was it fun. What do you think of the trees and whatnot?
Yeah, you always do an amazing job when it comes to stuff in Source Filmmaker. I'm still pretty much a scrub. Hence the reason why you're offering to redo all the thumbnails for this podcast.
I'm not redoing all the thumbnails. I'm designing you a new thumbnail to use for all of them. Something that I thought would stand out. But anyways,
like I said, I'm an SFM scrub.
But at least you make things that go for more than 2 seconds, and they have sound and whatnot. Sure, they're stiff as fuck, but they have a sort of charm to it that is akin to a little bit of Gmod personality. But I either do something fluid and whatnot and all this post-editing nonsense, or I don't at all. When I go a little bit more ambitious, like with this one I'm doing, which is my first full kind of animation commission, it's taken me so long to finish it because I keep lacking the motivation. If I don't finish it within 1 or 2 days, I quickly lose interest and I rarely return back to it. No matter how much money I'm going to get from it. Money is not the concern. It's just my motivation. So at least you've got better motivation and tend to finish things of better quantity than I do.
Oh, trust me, yes. Yesterday's motivation hit a really big low point. I was struggling to work on the animation that I was doing during that live stream. Yeah,
I know. I attended.
It just got to the point where I just hit a roadblock, and I was just sitting there thinking, I don't know how to do this next bit. And also, my mind was just sort of like fast forwarding to the end, trying to think about the finished product rather than what I was needing to do to get to that point. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Also, funny thing I was thinking of at that moment. I can only dream, but I wish there was kind of a cooperative feature to it where we can both collab and work on the same session. It's like you're working on posing the engineer and whatnot, and I could be working on posing that scout and doing the animation and everything, and maybe even throwing a few custom things, like a little prop on the hat.
That's not a bad idea, something like that for Source Filmmaker.
Too bad it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Source Filmmaker would even be able to handle that.
Yeah, and again, it's stuck permanently in alpha or beta or whatever it is, because if they update it, it's going to break everything and they know it. So it's stuck there.
To this point, you just don't know why they just don't make it an official release and just go, yeah, that's just the only version you're getting. I mean, it's not like anybody's going to complain. I mean, it still functions. It's just not completely functional.
Still.
Any other games you've been playing? Let's get back onto the topic of gaming, shall we?
I think I already mentioned this last podcast, but I've been playing a little bit more of Dawn of War lately. I really would like to play that with you again. We'll do a cooperative thing and just fight against computers and whatnot. Set up a stronghold. You be whatever race that you enjoy playing, and hopefully we'll have the others installed so you're not stuck with the Sisters of Battle.
Yeah, that was... last time we tried that, I was being forced to play with a race I did not know how to play, because I primarily play with the orcs. And it was just, I just didn't know, and the Sisters of Battle have a different mechanic to them that I was just like, I don't get how these girls work. So, it just completely threw me for a loop, and I think we were playing against a slightly more harder version of the AI, and we just got our asses handed to us.
And I remember once when Soulstorm came out, everyone was pissed at the two new factions, and some people were immediately going to deflect this on let me guess, because they're both primarily female races, and they were like, no, it's that we didn't get the fucking Tyranids!
Yeah.
It's funny, though, because there's a mod that's been fully fledged and done that has them fully functioning. Complete with the animations, they even look like they fit. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if these were actually assets that were never used. I've shown you them, right?
Yeah, you've shown me that, but you said there was problems with the sound for those, because the sound would play and then...
that was a long time ago. I'm pretty sure it's finished now.
Well, you could just play Dawn of War 2, and you can actually play as the Tyranids.
Yeah, but Dawn of War 2 doesn't even have the fucking base building I love. It's squad focused. I hate squad focused. It's like playing Warcraft and then playing the thing that inspired MOBA games.
I think that was kind of where they were going with that, but I kind of like that one because there's a little bit more complexity to it, and you still technically do have bases. It's just not.
You don't do anything with them, so it's the same as playing a static map that you have nothing to do with. Not really. There's just like a turret here, a turret there, some ads that come up here, but you don't command them. You don't. But again, it's not really the units as much as the base building. Take this for example. When I played Black and White 2, and no, I'm not talking about Pokemon. I'm talking about Lionheart Studios, the GOG game Black and White. I really loved Black and White 2, aside from the creature taming being much easier and streamlined, but I liked how the good side was more about being an architecture, just buildings everywhere and just turning into a huge city. And I actually really loved how amazing it looked. Hell, I'll send you screenshots later of what it looked like, but yeah, I seem to have a thing for just seeing things flourish up and build. I kind of like to think I did this. I set up this stronghold. And also, admittedly, when it comes to combat at all, I'm a huge fan of turtling.
Yeah, I turtle way. I remember during one game session when I was playing, I think it was... I can't remember if it was I can't remember if it was Dark Crusade or Soulstorm. There's one mission where you're playing it, where you invade the Chaos Stronghold. Because I was playing as the Orcs, I was just lining war towers around where your base starts, around all the entrances and exits, and just upgrading them so that I was effectively just creating massive walls of just war towers that just kills everything within like 10 seconds of it works.
Pronouncing it right. War!
But yeah, basically. But then again, I was playing on easy, and everything. All your enemies have like 50% less health, so they die within. They just practically melt.
Yeah, and unfortunately, when I was playing with you and when we were losing, I realized, I was only good with the Necrons because I was playing on easy mode. I didn't realize that that's how much it changed. But I've gotten used to playing them on normal difficulty now, so I now know a little bit about them. Still can't believe half of their starting and even endgame stuff is fucking free.
Well, it's mostly because they mostly just do stuff related on energy. It's got nothing to do with requisition or anything.
Their basic troopers and their construction workers literally cost nothing but time.
I think the Orcs are kind of like that as well, or at least with the Gretchen.
Yeah, it's only just the basic troopers that cost energy at all to reinforce, but the construction workers cost nothing to spawn and cost nothing to reinforce.
Like you said, apart from time.
Yeah, because capturing strategic points basically boosts construction research time and all that.
Yeah, I remember
However,
that.
the negative thing about this is that I have found myself in the habit of just ignoring decapturing strategic points, because I can only do that with one other unit or with my construction works. That's the only problem. Nothing else can uncapture them.
Unless you're playing with the Imperial Guard, where they've got the sort of walkers that can go up and decapture points just by standing next to them.
Yeah, I don't even think the Necron's vehicle characters can do that either. I'll have
No,
to have a look.
I don't think they can.
But yeah, that's what sucks. They only have 2 units that can. Well, they've got 1 unit that can decapture and capture, but they've only got 1 unit that can only decapture. That's about it. And considering the limited troop slots that you have, I find myself barely ever constructing them. There's probably a strategy or something I'm missing with them. I should probably get back into the habit of doing it. But yeah, I realize I keep getting a bit overwhelmed with my other team, and I realize, right, I've destroyed all of their listening posts, but they still have the point. I'm fucking myself over here. I should really just try to decapture them.
Yeah, decap them and deny them. Because then they're going to have to run out and recap it again. One thing, while we're on the subject of like Warhammer 40k related games, I really wish that they would make more games, or like a more first-person shooter games where you can play as other races other than the goddamn fucking Space Marines.
Oh, by the way, funny enough, I've been looking up some things about some lores of the races and whatnot, and I was wondering, because I remember the whole thing that they made it so that it's all grimdark and everything, and no one faction is 100% good. There's always a dark side to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that the Tau seem to be the only ones close to that, but then I realized, wait, what if I look further into this? I'm sure there's something that they've hidden, and yep, there is. And it's arguably probably just as dark. Maybe. But, and still in my opinion, best alternative. Do you want to talk about it or not?
You sort of give me a brief overview, because I know that the Tau are basically a race that just run around with their heads up their asses the whole time. We're just like, oh, we're doing this for the greater good, and it's just like, the subjugation of entire races is not the greater good.
And but anyways, they all align and whatnot and everything, and even these things that are, these other different species that are polar opposites, like for example, the Kroot and whatnot. And sometimes you're wondering, how do they even get along so well? I mean, I do know that they have mentioned that they turn a blind eye at their cannibalism because they play a vital role in the battlefield as the oh shit, I forgot the name of the race. I'm not sure if Tau is the name of the faction or the race of the main blue people, but
I think that's what they're called.
Well, anyways, when they have pretty weak stomachs and whatnot, so they're not just bad at melee because, well, they're not effective at melee, but again, they don't like being up close to violence. They have the whole mentality of wanting to end it quickly and at a distance. So, which is why they have the habit of falling back a lot in the lore. But then I'm wondering, how do they put up with each other? And how do they seem to... And plus, they seem ignorant when it comes to, why do they fight us? And then I realized, when I was listening to this whole thing that was documenting, and it went on for hours. It was a long-ass video.
I think I probably know the guy that you were referring to, because I was sitting there listening to somebody going on about how the War of Armageddon happened and things. So
you know the Ethereals, the Ethereal cast.
Yeah, the sort of like leaders of the Tau and things.
You ever have you ever noticed that whenever there isn't one present, I'm talking lore wise, the people left without one are starting to become a little bit more independent, and then start thinking of the things they haven't thought of before or question themselves. So it turns out they are basically brainwashed. The whole Tau Empire is brainwashed and under the control of them. They influence them. This is why they suddenly settled their differences overnight at a long skirmish between 2 clans in the old times that went on for years, but then they suddenly just agreed to a truce and then became allies overnight. It was because of the Ethereals.
So basically mind-controlling little bastards.
Yes. So, and this includes anyone that's in contact with them over time.
That is
I remember
that is a dark secret that the Tau have.
And which also means that if something happens to the Ethereals, if they all die off, what's going to happen to all of those races? It's going to become utter chaos. Worse than, well, the Chaos Marines.
I don't know. I think you can't get more chaotic than chaos.
Well, I mean by that is in, like, it's going to be so chaotic that the Chaos are going to go, oh, I want in on this shit.
Let's just bring them over to our side. I wouldn't be too surprised if Games Workshop did try pulling that. They're like, the Tau aren't selling. Let's just make their races fall apart and just stick them in chaos.
And also, their reliance on technology doesn't help either. I believe that was something that why the Imperial Guardsmen rely more on machines than technology these days.
Well, that's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Machines and technology, they kind of overlap in a way. Maybe?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know the lore that well, but, yeah. I was not expecting to... I knew that there had to be something there, but I wasn't expecting that. I was wondering why they are so critical and whatnot about the Ethereals, why they all seem to agree to this one thing and whatnot. I'm starting to think, there's something to their methods of falling in line, isn't there?
There's a method to the madness.
Yep. But in all honesty, as someone who, well, even is curious of the whole idea of, that game called Changed, where your mind gets infused with a parasite and you think what the parasite things are, basically you both become either the one thing or your thoughts become its thoughts. It's kind of like brainwashing or conversion in a way. As someone who is a little bit interested in that, I don't think I would I think I'd turn a blind eye at the whole thing and just submit to it. If someone's going to make me into something better that's going to serve the greater good rather than being a lazy asshole just sitting here making porn, I think I'd allow it.
Well, at least you're actually making the conscious choice of actually doing the porn, as opposed to being told to do it.
But still, this also reminds me of something. I can't remember which game it was, but when they talk about that we fight for freedom and whatnot, and then some guy argues, is freedom really the best thing ever? Look at the chaos that people do to each other when they have the so-called freedom and they argue their rights or freedoms, and then, this all collides when there should be more order.
Order and freedom need to have an overlap somewhere, and you also need to know where to... That's getting into a really big philosophical debate that I don't think we have time for on this podcast, so...
But that, and also the character later argues about how mankind gets more lazier, and it's true. We, well, never mind, I'm not going to get that far in, but the reliance on something, we become less and less independent and become more dependent on certain things that we make a craft. And yeah, if something told us not to do that and told us to work harder with this and that's not going to have long-term consequences or something, would we be better off? Sure, we'd sacrifice some freedom, but would it be worth it in the end? That whole thing. I believe that's what the character was arguing, but I can't remember what goddamn game it was. But that's what got me thinking about that and the Tau when I discovered that.
I'm sure somebody in the comments will probably be able to remind you if they know what you're talking about. Assuming that the comment section doesn't revolve into people just saying first, hello, or I changed my profile picture. Let's just say that my comment section for these videos
have... autistic. I don't think I have I don't think I'm qualified to talk about this kind of philosophical crap.
I don't know.
See what I mean?
I don't know. Anybody can really talk about it. It's just what you think and whether or not you can discuss it without immediately doing the whole sips tea thing and going, oh, well, I'm more superior to you because I've got more followers on Twitter, so that means I can dismiss your opinion. Sip, sip, sip.
Speaking of people with disabilities and whatnot and those types of speeches, again, I'm not that much of a fan of South Park, but I've grown very attached to what's his name with the that walks around with the crutches. I just every time when I hear him speak, I'm just smiling.
I think I can't remember what his name was. It wasn't Timmy.
No. He just goes Timmy, and it's mostly whenever they're playing superheroes that he is like what's his name from
Dr. X from X-Men.
Yeah, which is awesome. It's like how when it's just like how in Family Guy there Patrick Stewart voices the little baby girl from the Swanson family. You know, Joe. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. But yes, enough about that now. Let us move on to some news. This is probably a bit of old news by the time this podcast goes out, but I think some people really do need to be made aware of it. It is the fact that Valve are updating their user reviews policy on Steam. They are now going to be considering any sort of review bombing as being off-topic reviews. Or that is how it is being received as. For those of you who are not in the know, as you know, there are often times on Steam where people are not happy with the developer or of a particular game changing in a way that a lot of people are not happy about. So you will generally tend to get these situations where you get massive review bombs. I should know for a fact that one example was, it was sometime last year when Darkest Dungeon tried to do a Korean translation and they completely botched it up, so basically all the Korean players came along and just review bombed the game, even though there was absolutely nothing wrong with the game itself. They didn't like the fact that the translation was bad. So this is what Steam nowadays, or from now on, would consider to be an off-topic review. So these reviews would essentially be excluded from the overall reviews score. So it's effectively their way of just trying to do damage control in a way. But they have given you the option to opt out of this. If you go to your Steam store preferences, which they have finally been able to link to in
it's
your...
It's basically like E621, where you basically set your, like if, by default, if a post is downvoted at least 3 times in the negative zone, it'll become hidden. And there's a button you can click to show hiddens anyway. Yeah,
kind of like that, but they've given you an option in your Steam store preference, which they've now actually put on this blog, which you can access from Steam by clicking the little sort of megaphone thing up in the top right next to where you get alerts for messages and things. If you just click the link to the Steam store preferences and just click on, and then go down to, hang on, actually I'll do it right now. Steam store preferences, and then you go down to review score settings, click edit preferences, and then set it to include off-topic review activity in review score. So basically, if something does go wrong and people are not happy about it, you will be able to know, instead of Valve trying to sort of, hand wave it under the rug.
And speaking of Valve, not sure how recent this was, but I heard something about a Dota 2 something update, and there was some data-minded leaks that hinted at the idea that apparently they're doing a Half-Life VR mode.
That's been floating around for a while.
Okay, so it wasn't new. I didn't bother to check the dates.
I think there was something. Yeah, I think that was a while ago. But yeah, with this whole review thing, it is. Many people are saying that they're trying to censor criticism, because if a game or a developer does something wrong, essentially review bombing a game is just a way of protest in a way. But at the same time, it's really just a case of, well, you're not happy with the way that a company is doing something, vote with your wallets. That is the best thing that you can do. Just, or vote with your time. If you're not happy with the way a game is going, stop playing it. If there is a game that's coming out that has microtransactions in it, despite being a fully charged game, don't buy it. It is really just as simple as that. you know, don't, even if it's like the game that you've been so desperately wanting and you want to play it so badly, if it's doing something you don't like, don't buy it.
Still, also, again, aside from the Darkwood game I really want you to play, I really, really want you to play Changed as well and to stream it someday.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'd be able to get away with that on YouTube. Then again, there's no sexual content in that, so it should be alright.
Well, there's only just one, mainly, from one enemy, and even then, it's not that bad. Besides,
are you talking about are you talking about the bit where you get turned by the dragon and you're sort of sitting on her lap or something?
No. That's not sexual at all. It's the first black latex monsters you come across. The black latex wolves with the white masks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first ones that you encounter, if they catch you, they pretty much hump you after they transform you.
Oh, okay. So humping white masked black wolves. Noted.
Yeah, that's about it.
And with that, this video gets demonetized because we talk about humping, and YouTube's overly sensitive about that kind of shit.
Well, I'm sorry if that actually does happen.
I seriously doubt it, because most people probably wouldn't have even have gotten to this point in the podcast, because the view durations on these videos tend to be about 30-40 seconds. So most people are just clicking on the video, sitting there for less than a minute and going, this isn't friendly foxy, and then turning the video off.
No, this is an animation, and there's not even any pop-ups. But, yeah, so, Darkwood I want you to play for the scares, and Changed I want you to play for both the furry side, as well as mainly for probably the rage-inducing you're gonna get because of the trial and error. Do not play on easy mode. You will regret it.
Why?
Because you can only play half of the game.
Oh.
Granted, it tells you this, but
Oh, is it really one of those games that goes, oh, you want to play on easy mode? Ha! You don't get half the game, or you get blocked off after a certain point. It's just
Superman 64 did that too, but at least Change tells you this up front.
I hate games like that. It's just look. I want to play this game on easy, alright? Because I'm more interested in just either the story or just what the game is as a whole. Once I get used to it, I will knock the difficulty up. But until then, just let me play the game on easy, okay?
Well, all this really does is just add a few more extra enemies here or there and make a few less like for example this area where you're running away from this big fluffy tail. There's at least 2 ways to get around at this one point, because there's some white latexes on the ceiling hiding at the top and some on the floor, but there are some gaps, one on this side and one on the other side. In the normal difficulty, there's only one way. That's about it. Or in the first white latex monster you encounter that you have to run away from, originally that's the only thing you run away from, but in normal difficulty, there's a box or 2 that gets knocked over, and you have 2 and then 3 enemies chasing you. But if you get cornered by them, you'd be cornered by that one guy anyway. So it's not that much different, and when you go from easy to normal, you'll be like, there's barely any difference, and I still have to do this all over again and make damn certain I make the right decisions. And speaking of which, you are forgiven to look up a guide on how to get the best ending, because if you muck it up, you have to start all over again. And considering how hard the game is, you don't want to go through that. Take this for example, the one choice that is basically all or nothing that people tend to overlook, no matter how much time they spend with Kuro, be sure to thank him when the option is up. Any other options you pick as to the question or this or that, I think there are 3 or 4 dialogues, but there's only one good answer, and it doesn't even seem like it's a good answer moment. It's basically a just what you're saying in the moment. But no, there's only one option you need to pick, and that's to thank him. You don't pick that, you're guaranteed to get the bad ending at the halfway point. Basically, if you were playing on easy mode. So you get that halfway bad ending, guaranteed if you are playing on easy mode, guaranteed if you play on normal, and don't thank him at this one point. I'll let you know about that time, but yes.
So, spoilers for anybody who hasn't played the game.
Not many people would want to play it. It's pretty range-inducing and also weird. Even for me. and yet it became intriguing. But that's because I'm a furry, so that makes me biased.
Yeah. We're both furries, so we're both biased against it.
So,
anyway, folks, that is the end of the podcast. It wasn't really much of a news section. I forgot to go and look up something on another website, and the Steam thing was the first thing I could think of. So, a very short news session.
Do you want to talk about something else?
No, I think we've bored the masses enough with our incoherent ramblings. So
yeah. All right.
So I think we will leave it there. So thank you everybody for listening. Mikey boy, is there anything you would like to add before we go?
Play Darkwood if you want an action. Play Darkwood if you want a really good horror survival game that is unique. Play Changed if you want to get a bit of an idea of how weird yet kind of interesting the furry community can get.
I think he means kinky. I think he probably means
it's
kinky.
Still more of the interesting type. I'm more talking about the story writing. It's actually been praised by that to even non-furries. Again, how often do you see a furry-focused game in the Steam reviews to have an overall positive rating, despite it being... Because normally if it's a decent game even, just the fact that it's furry, it's going to get shat on. But not this game.
There is another one. There is another one that I've come across called a pirate of the Pirate's Fate or something. It's a kind of an ebook choose your own adventure thing, but we'll talk about that another time because it is time for us to leave. So thank you everybody for listening, and as always, Heavy Weapons Guy says,
okay, enough.